Welcome to the Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff, and real football is here. We saw the Dolphins take on another team. Not an actual game, but practice. And on today's show, the Falcons came to town, and we're breaking down all the news, notes, and takeaways from the first Dolphins-Falcons joint practice. They will be doing another one on Wednesday morning before they play their real game in the first week of the preseason on Friday night. And before we get into the news and notes, if you want to see more on the Dolphins practices with the Atlanta Falcons and more on training camp just in general, make sure you follow me on Twitter/X at Nic_Rohloff is my handle. I'm tweeting about news, notes, highlights. I'll have it all for you over there just to give you extra coverage on the Dolphins outside of YouTube, so go give me a follow right now. I think the first thing that is important to talk about is who wasn't at practice for the Dolphins today. These 8 names did not participate for the Fins. Jordan Poyer, who has missed the last 4 practices now. Jalen Waddle didn't participate. Braxton Berrios was out. Mohamed Kamara, the rookie from Colorado State, was out. The 2 linebackers who have now missed 3 straight practices, and Anthony Walker Jr. and Jordan Brooks both missed it. Eric Ezukama, and then Selvin Ahmed, the running back, who actually was in a walking boot in that same foot that ended his season last year, so hopefully isn't really that big of an injury for Selvin Ahmed. But the biggest name on this list is clearly wide receiver Jalen Waddle. To me, I think this was just a rest day, if you will. No really crazy reports out there from beat reporters talking about Waddle's injury or any concern from the Dolphins organization. So to me, I'm not getting concerned about Waddle. I think it was more or less just a day off to make sure he's not overworking himself right now. Veterans are going to get those days off. I know Waddle's only entering year 5, but it's still good to get him some rest. Year 4, excuse me. But Waddle, nothing serious for Jalen. All right, let's now get into the practice takeaways for the Dolphins. The first one that I had, Dolphins defense is absolutely legit. This team, I think, is going to have a top 5 defensive football. I've been saying that all offseason long because I'm bullish on Anthony Weaver, who came over from Baltimore to replace Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator. And some of the news and takeaways that we saw from beat reporters were just praising the secondary for the Dolphins. Jalen Ramsey and Kendall Fuller are going to be maybe the best defensive duo in the cornerback department this entire NFL season. I know a lot of people are going to go out there and say the New York Jets duo of Reed and Sauce Gardner, but I think Fuller and Ramsey are going to have a better season as a duo, and I am just hoping they're able to stay healthy. There was a tons of reports about them locking up Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, Drake London, having really good plays on the balls. I also saw some reports that a lot of corner blitzes were in play here, with Fuller coming off the edge, Jalen Ramsey coming off the edge, getting their hands on footballs as Kirk Cousins or Penix tried to throw the hot over their head. To me, I think both of them provide you the ability to play zone, play man-to-man, blitz them off the end. I think Anthony Weaver is going to utilize them in very different ways. That duo is going to be extremely fun to watch, and they're going to need to be good considering the quarterbacks and wide receivers the Dolphins will have to face this upcoming year. I challenged the Dolphins defense, and the number one thing that I was intrigued to watch in the next 2 days with practice is to see how the Dolphins front 7 fared against the Falcons running attack, because we know that they like to run the football quite a bit. They have a really good offensive line with Caleb McGarry, Chris Lindstrom, Jake Matthews, Drew Dahlman, with Bijan running back and Tyler Algier as your 2 backs. They have an elite rushing attack, and with the loss of Christian Wilkins and some injuries, I was intrigued to see how this Dolphins front 7 was going to fare. And they answered the call. Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald reported today in his news and notes that the Dolphins defense was fantastic early on, limiting the Falcons to fewer than 10 yards on the first 8 carries. That could not be more music to my ears. Think about this, folks. We mentioned the players that did not participate in practice. 2 linebackers that are going to see a large role on this defense, Anthony Walker Jr. and Jordan Brooks. Obviously, Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb are more well known for getting after the pass or the quarterback, but those 2 guys not being there also impacts the Dolphins' defensive line. But seeing Zach Sealer, Tier Tart, Chop Robinson, Quentin Bell, Calais Campbell, the David Long Jr., answer the call with some of the key players in the front seven not there and still kind of stalwart this Falcons rushing attack just makes me very bullish on this team. And that was the biggest concern in this Dolphins defense. How are they going to stop the run? Well, at least in the first joint practice with the Atlanta Falcons, they did an extremely good job. Which also takes me to the last point we'll talk about with this defense, and it's the reserve edges. Chop Robinson, the rookie from Penn State, and then the longtime journeyman veteran who has not found a home in the NFL quite yet, and Quentin Bell are just absolutely making plays for this Dolphins defense. Chop is going to be better than what people thought. Hand up, I already know. I misjudged that draft pick. Chop Robinson is going to be an absolute stud for this Dolphins team in the foreseeable future. This edge group is extremely deep, man. We're seeing Emmanuel Ogbah and those two names we just talked about make plays. And that doesn't even include Mo Kamara, who's going to continue to get better. Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb returning. I am going to pound my fist on the table here and tell you that this Dolphins pass rush will be a top 5 group in the NFL. And if this secondary can stay healthy as well, there's no reason why this Dolphins defense can't be a top 3, top 5 group in the entire league. We are facing the Falcons on the field this week, but we're also facing them on the YouTube streets. We have a Falcons channel here at Chat Sports, and we're competing with them all week long in subscribers. We're starting here on Tuesday when the two teams matched up on the field. Who is going to get more subs throughout this week? We'll conclude with our final battle, if you will, on our Friday watch party, so make sure you subscribe and join us for that. But let's take down the Falcons channel here at Chat Sports. Takeaway number 2, River Cracraft is on this team. And I know that just a couple days ago, I predicted Eric Ezukama to be the final wide receiver on this roster. I just don't see that being the case anymore. Cracraft has had an excellent camp so far, but he really balled out in the first joint practice with the Atlanta Falcons. And with Ezukama out, Odell Beckham Jr. out, Braxton Berrios missing practice today as well, Cracraft was asked to be a much larger piece in this Dolphins offense during one-on-ones, 11-on-11s, and he answered the call, making a handful of catches in the early portions, helping the Dolphins get a field goal in the final 2-minute drill that the two teams had. Like, River Cracraft is doing everything that he needed to do to ensure himself a roster spot when they cut it down from 90 to 53, and I expect him to continue to make plays during these preseason games over the next 3 weeks. Cracraft also caught a 50-yard touchdown that probably wouldn't have counted if they let the quarterbacks get hit. Some reports that the Falcons would have had a sack on the play. But nonetheless, River Cracraft beat his guy deep to score a touchdown. Cracraft is playing excellent football right now, and I think he is going to make the 53-man roster. But what say you? Predict it for me down in the comment section. Will River Cracraft be on this Dolphins 53-man roster on cutdown day in late August? Type Y for yes or type N for no. If you want to go see the Dolphins play the Falcons at home in their first preseason game, use Game Time, and that is in the Miami area. But hey, if you're not in the Miami area, you can still use Game Time to get tickets to any event you want wherever you are. Last-minute deals, save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy shows. It does not matter. It's not just a sports app. Yeah, we talk football here, but they also get you tickets to any type of event you want. Flash deals come up on the app to give you the best price guaranteed. In-app deals, select seats, does not matter. They will have you covered. Lowest price guaranteed as well. If you find the same seat in the same section on a different app with a cheaper price, Game Time will actually credit you 110% of the difference. Yeah, that's right. Game Time really does that. They are the best. It's the best way to get tickets. It's the only one I use when I go watch games in the Dallas area because that's where we're located. So I implore you guys to do the same. And you will have an excellent deal because you can get $20 off your first purchase when you download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. Terms do apply, but make sure you create an account after downloading the app, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, to get $20 off. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Appreciate Game Time for sponsoring today's show. All right, the third takeaway from this joint practice. The offensive line was very up and down, and this is going to get sketchy, I'm not going to lie, but it is good to see at least the offensive linemen take on different bodies that aren't our own defensive linemen. We'll start with the positives, and that's rookie second-round pick Patrick Paul out of Houston. He won all but one of his 1v1 reps, and that included going against some good defensive linemen. Paul not going to see a role this year unless Teron Armstead or Austin Jackson gets hurt, so it is possible he will get a couple spot starts this year, but he's not going into the year as a starter, likely going to replace Teron Armstead in the future. But Paul performed pretty well in one-on-one drills. So did Robert Jones, who is the leader in the clubhouse to probably be the starting right guard for this team as he's looking to replace Robert Hunt. He is actually listed on the first depth chart, by the way, spoiler for the video going out tomorrow morning, as the starting left guard with Isaiah Wynn still on the PUP list. But Robert Jones played really well in the 1v1 period, won a lot of his reps. That included going up against Grady Jarrett, David Onyemata, two of the better interior defensive linemen the NFL has that both are on the Atlanta Falcons. But there is a little bit of an issue here. We talked about the two positives. It wasn't all sunshines and rainbows in Miami today with the offensive line. The O-line struggled during 11-on-11 drills, specifically Jack Driscoll. He had a really bad day, which is disappointing to me because I thought Driscoll could have really competed for this right guard spot, and I ultimately ended up going with the prediction that he would replace and overtake Robert Jones to be the starting right guard because of how well he did at that right guard spot for the Eagles back in 2021. He's getting snaps at center, not snapping the ball well, not blocking well. All reports out of camp is that Driscoll has really underperformed in the first 2 weeks here in South Florida, which is extremely disappointing because I would have liked to see Driscoll really threaten for that starting role. And I tell you what, after hearing that the offensive line has been up and down, not consistent, struggling with snaps, Aaron Brewer at center, not participating well and playing well in 11-on-11 drills against the Falcons on day one, I'm just starting to really try to hope that this O-line doesn't hold back this team when it matters the most, man. It's really a concern for me because this team is so good on offense when it comes to the running back depth, the wide receivers, the quarterback, the tight ends. Like, everything you can ask for in terms of weapons and position players is terrific. But if the offensive line can't block and when it matters the most, we're going to be in some trouble. So I really hope this group does not hold back the entire offense. Final takeaway today. I think Tua is in for a big year. It kind of goes hand in hand with the offensive line. Like, sure, he needs to be protected, but Tua Tagovailoa has been extremely good in training camp ever since getting that contract extension. He has absolute command of this offense, and you might have seen the viral clip. If not, you should follow me on Twitter to make sure you do see it. But Tua dropping dimes 50 yards down the field to Tyreek Hill. Those two have such a special connection, a great rapport. Same thing with Jalen Waddle. All reports are that Tua was cooking, and he's one of the better throwers over the middle of the football field as they use that speed, play action, motion to get the wide receivers behind the linebackers. Tua fires the darts right in the middle of the safeties and linebackers. This offense is in for another really good year, and as long as the offensive line doesn't absolutely go to shit, I think we're going to be in for another good offensive season for the Miami Dolphins. We still have another joint practice on Wednesday, but we will have a game on Friday against the Atlanta Falcons. How excited are you for the Dolphins' first preseason game against Atlanta on Friday? Scale it for me 1 to 10 down in the comment section. Make sure you are subscribed, but I did want to make this last note here. Ethan Bonner, who has had a really good camp for the Dolphins, and Drake London got in a little bit of a scrap. London caught a ball over Ethan Bonner. London gave him a little shove, but Bonner didn't back down, and they got to a little scuffle. Didn't last too long, only about 15, 20 seconds, but I do love to see the competitive juices come out and a little brawl ensue. It wasn't crazy, just not like the Malik Neighbors and the Giants-Lions fight the other day, but they are getting a little scrappy out there in Miami. Make sure you are subscribed because we are going to be live for that game between the Dolphins and Falcons this upcoming Friday night. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you join us because we're going to be live providing fun play-by-play, commentary, analysis, and everything you need surrounding the Fins. As always, folks, we'll see you tomorrow with another video. Go Fins.